Welcome to a special edition Free Music Empire. We're calling this Free Music Empire Decoded with Teller Banks.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Do More Say Less is out here doing major things, multiple releases during the year, and is graced us with her presence. I am Danny Orange, Mr. White Folks. I am the volunteer fireman of this hip hop journalism shit. I am here for it. And you just, when did you release Grotesque and Beautiful?
October 11th.
And it was just immediately something that I had to hold and understand and figure out. There's just a lot of layers to it. And I wanted to give a chance to really go over it kind of song by song and what stuck out to me. For like lines and such.
Okay.
For ground rules, you have a very remarkable voice on the mic.
Thank you.
So, and 6 or 7 different speeds that you rap at. So, I don't think I nailed every word. This wasn't a kind of go on Genius cut and paste situation. This was a play it 100 times and take notes. So there will be mistakes. I am not above correction on that. I want to get it right. So the second thing, I certainly don't say the N-word. So I'll just say the N. In passing conversation, I've substituted African-American gentleman so I can sound as white as possible. Funny to me. But in the sake of professionalism, I won't do that. And it would take too long. So I want to jump in here. I'm just excited to talk about it because of what a daring thing you did. So Grotesque and Beautiful is put up, great cover art, completely produced by Ed Glorious. The first song is Suicide Hotline 3.
Yes, sir.
And that is the one that was the single, right? That is the one that was playable immediately.
Yeah, that was the first joint I dropped off the album. And
it was and it's a solid punch to the face. That is a heck of a song. Was there ever any doubt that was the one you wanted people to hear first?
Yeah, honestly, for a while, I didn't really have like a plan on what the single was going to be. I wasn't sure which one to lead off with because, like, in my eyes, like how I view the whole album, like I see it like almost visually like a movie. You know what I mean? So. Right. It's kind of like I was trying to figure out, okay, well, which part will I show people first? You know what I mean? And somewhere in the middle, and then it just kind of like I don't know. It just felt right to go with the first record. To just have it be the intro to kind of like start it off. I felt like it was the the whole album kind of has that real kind of raw emotional theme to it, and so I felt like why not just fuck it, get it all the way out there. So that people could really see, I guess what kind of product I was going to, basically be offering or what the album was basically going to, be. I didn't want to give anybody, because I thought about doing Clumsy as the single, right. But I didn't want to give people that any kind of like mixed, I guess, signals as far as like what they're about to get out of this album. So right. That's ultimately why I ended up picking that for the single.
You don't want to be on the first date like you'll never be again,
right.
So, and I think that's a great idea. So it to jump right in, Suicide Hotline 3, it feels like walls gonna close on me. I can't really remember the last time I ain't feel lonely, surrounded by people, surrounded by demons with evil intentions. The beast's unrelenting, I feel I'm related. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
What the part that is really interesting to me is the beast's unrelenting and I'm related. So the idea that the beast never stops, right?
Yeah.
And that the beast reminds you of you.
Right.
That's intense.
Yeah, I mean it's essentially like, you know, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, like it's a part of me. You know what I'm saying? All of the darkness, basically, that I'm dealing with. You know, when I'm talking about this record.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, certainly the walls closing in and feeling lonely, and a lot of that is what is a part of this COVID experience for a lot of people anyway. So um,
Yeah.
that's important. The demons with evil intentions. There's a lot of interesting religious imagery mixed in with like horrifying other imagery of it's just an interesting way to frame religious imagery. I don't have a question on that yet.
Well,
Let me Oh, do you want to say something? Sorry.
well, I was gonna say, you know, I grew up like my dad was a pastor for a long time. The church that I grew up at, like in the neighborhood I grew up in, was like a real bad neighborhood. The church was like, you know what I'm saying, right smack dab in the middle of some of the worst stuff going on in the city. And so like I seen a lot of stuff, you know, right out in the backyard of the church, or right in the back alleyway of the church, or right around across the street, you know, just in that area, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, a lot of that is, you know what I'm saying, tied together for me. And just kind of like you know, it's kind of just goes the whole like basis or idea of the album is basically just describing an environment from, you know, multiple perspectives. And so, yeah, just kind of like some of the perspectives are myself, you know what I'm saying, and some of the perspectives are from other folks, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, the first song is just pretty much like it's a lot of me in there.
Yeah. The let me see. We'll get back to the religious imagery. There's more in the first song. It feels like the world put chains on me. Ends I thought I know best start to change on me. Black cloud over top my head start to rain on me. Uh, and then, oh man, this is one of the best. Really, all that keep me floating be the kids on the weekend. But lately, I've been feeling like I failed as a father, I failed as a partner, I failed as a brother, I failed as a son. I'm a terrible friend. I'm failing again. Tell
Yeah.
me about that sequence and about writing that sequence. And I mean, when you're in the zone writing that, do you not know how heavy it is until after? Like, when do you process it?
I mean, honestly, like a lot of my writing process, I go to, you know, I'm a very spiritual person in general. So like I go to a lot of like, I'm really in there when I'm writing a lot of stuff. And so, you know, yeah, that was like that whole verse, you know what I'm saying, is very therapeutic for me. It was a very therapeutic process, kind of even writing it down, getting it on paper, and kind of, you know, working through those feelings. You know what I'm saying? You know, I got 3 kids. I'm divorced. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of like weekend dad. You know, the dynamic, you know, not to go too much into my personal life or whatever, but the dynamic that kind of goes between, you know what I'm saying, my the difference, I guess, in lifestyle between me and, you know what I'm saying, and their mom, you know what I'm saying, is, I'm sure, like, drastic. So it's like,
Yeah.
I know sometimes it kind of, you know, it's just stuff that I deal with, and I know it's stuff that other people deal with. And so that's mostly the reason why I wanted to talk about it, because I know it's not anything that's uncommon or anything that it feels like things I'm dealing with alone, but I know that there's a lot more people in that common situation as far as feeling that way. You know what I'm saying? It may not be the exact same circumstances, but the feelings behind that, you know what I'm saying, feeling like you let somebody down or you didn't live up to folks' expectations of what you were supposed to be when things don't, you know, turn out how they supposed to, you know, per se.
Totally. Well, and I empathize in the sense that as a father, I always feel like a failure because my kid is so great. I want, you know, I feel like I should have done more, or like I want my kid to be a better version of me, not me. So I'm
Yeah.
always trying to figure out how to teach him to be better than I am, you know?
Yeah.
And it's different.
And the other side to that, you know what I'm saying, is like, you know, it's kind of, you know, rest in peace. Kobe was like, I'm not much of a hooper, but like I really get a few like figures that really inspired me, you know, outside of like rapping, you know, in terms of rapping, and like Kobe Bryant, like Muhammad Ali, you know,
Right.
Michael Jordan. But like Kobe, I remember he was in an interview and he said, like, you know, being the best basketball player in the world didn't really lend itself to being, you know, like the best son or like the best, you know, father or friend. And so it was kind of like, I know that that's kind of where the root of that idea kind of springs from in me, is like I definitely put a lot of time in. I'm in the studio more than I'm anywhere.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I live in the studio, so I'm
Yeah.
literally I work on music most of the day. I know that you know, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into being like dedicated into a craft. You know what I mean? And so a lot of things kind of end up on the chopping block, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
That's fair. We there's a 4-song arc here. I have to give some credit to Ed Glorious on like how these beats maneuver into one another.
Yeah.
Uh, and going right to exercise 19. Um, at 19, they gave my cousin life away for what these pigs do every day, every day. Uh, and most ends don't have to weigh the weight of a bath. I had to carry the cross and bear the weight of your past. I weigh the weight of your past and weigh the weight of my path. Like, am I making ends, bro? And it's a great series of thoughts and digressions on and what is a part of the album.
So actually, the album, the dude on the album cover, that's my cousin that actually I'm talking about in the song. You know what I'm saying? Who got, you know, since life when he was 19. Um, and so really, like, you know, we write each other. You know what I'm saying? We write a lot of letters. You know, me and my mom. To keep in touch with him a lot. And one time, you know, he wrote me a letter. It kind of stuck out with me because it was talking about stuff so you kind of like overlook or don't really think about, you know, when you end up, you know, in that situation where you're put away for life in prison. And he was talking about, you know, just like wanting to take a bath again. Like he won't probably never get to take another bath. It was just like kind of like a small piece of the letter, you know what I'm saying? But it
Right.
was something that really like stuck with me. And so it was kind of like the song is kind of split into two halves, you know what I'm saying? One is from a perspective of somebody on the outside missing a loved one that's incarcerated. And then the other side is, you know, somebody who's incarcerated missing, you know what I mean, the outside world. And they kind of blend together. But yeah, in that particular sequence, it's just kind of like, you know, most people don't have to weigh the weight of a bath, you know what I'm saying? They have to carry their cross and wear the weight of their past. And so that's pretty much essentially what happens to you when you're incarcerated is, you know, you get incarcerated, you're 19 years old, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? He's been in prison for 15 years now. So like I'm 28. I don't even can't fathom my mind when I was 19. It was a whole different person. You know what I'm saying? And so to have to carry the weight of mistake that you made for a person that really you don't even know or understand anymore. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people just don't have to do that or be crucified for, you know what I'm saying, those kind of mistakes or decisions that they made, and especially in their youth. And that's something that we see a lot, you know what I'm saying, especially like where I'm from, or, you know, if you want to
Yeah.
classify, you know, the hood or whatever in general. You know what I mean? That's just something that happens a lot to a lot of people where, you know, you end up marked or scarred for the rest of your life off of something that you did, you know what I mean?
And it's the way the album is set up, the sequencing is so good that it really does become a movie in the sense that um it, think of it like a Terminator movie, right? And the Terminator is the police,
Yeah.
and the Terminator's not always fighting you, but they're always chasing you.
Yeah.
And so the police appear on exercise 19, then you grapple with spirituality, you grapple with other people and the way people treat you, and then they're back for Piggy Pop, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't go away. The police don't go away. The justice system being broken doesn't go away. And the listener gets to feel how it feels, right? I mean, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Yeah.
what I was going for. Cause yeah, like I said, I mean, to be completely honest, like, the whole album was a real like experience for me. I did everything kind of like in sessions. I did like the first 4 songs all in the session, you know what I'm saying? Kind of just really getting in tune with the feeling or just kind of catching everything that was coming to me that was supposed to be, kind of expressed, you know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
like yeah, like the first the first 4 songs, like even like Apex Predator, you know what I mean? It's kind of like you were saying, it's kind of like that overarching theme where it's kind of like explaining, you know what I'm saying, the just the environment and how it kind of like comes into play with these different figures. So yeah, Piggy Pop, man. Iggy Pop was an interesting one. I didn't really have like a plan when I made that song. I just kind of like started going, and like at first when I was saying it, it kind of sounded like I don't know, like I wasn't sure about it, but I was like, by the end of me saying it, I was kind of like, this is kind of stuck in my head already. I can't even think of anything else to say. And so I was like, yeah, it just kind of went with me. But that's one of my favorite ones just because it has a lot of subtle like plays on words and like lyrics that's in there, kind of like at a slower pace. And so it's
Right.
kind of like, I feel like a lot of the punchlines in there are so subtle, like a lot of folks won't really catch it. Like my favorite movies is Old School with Will Ferrell and
Yeah.
Vince
Yeah.
Vaughn, and then it's like a comedy, you know what I'm saying? So it's like they got my old boy Blue. He had that jar on the stove. He made it rock old school. He taught me all that he knows. Yeah, but it was like, what did I say before that? I said I felt that something. It felt like dust in the wind. They got my old boy Blue. He had that jar on the stove. He made it rock old school. He taught me all that he knows. And so it was like, that scene where he's singing dust in the wind at the funeral and all of that. So it's kind of like, I like to do a lot of stuff like that where it kind of like, I don't know, you might not even catch it the first few times that you listen to it, but if you like one day you'll catch it, or you'll be listening to the album and you'll see that movie, and all of a sudden you'll see it and it'll be like, oh snap. Like, so I feel like there's a lot of stuff like that in Piggy Pop. That's one of my favorites. And Sleep Sinatra, he's a good friend of mine, you know what I'm saying? So he did his thing on that one too.
Definitely. I mean, when Sleep Sinatra goes through on Piggy Pop and goes through that sequence, I just heard it before we got on, of like, my friend got 9 years, got out, and damn near went back again. We get through the system, and then we have to, fight because of the color of our skin. I mean, I think the world of him. And by the way, to go back to Apex Predator, right? Because there's only 2 guests on the album, right?
Yeah.
Sleep Sinatra and Akeem Ishu.
Yeah, that's my bro right there, for real. That's my brother right there.
And what they share is this kind of wonderfully confident, low-key delivery, right? Which is the best. That's the best way to be on a track with you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you're gonna,
Akeem, is one of like, you quote me on it, Akeem is one of the best rappers out like anywhere. Like, he's one of my favorite rappers. His debut album, Betrayal and Liberation, it's on streaming everywhere under the same name, Akeem Eshu. It's one of the best like albums that I've ever heard from anybody. So like, yeah, he's kind of low key, you know what I'm saying? He's working on some stuff going together. Me and him really like, we really got a brotherhood, you know what I'm saying? That we kind of built over the years just through music. Honestly, it's kind of funny. Like Vic Spencer, like introduced us online to each other because he
that's cool.
his records or whatever, you know what I mean? And then from there, it just kind of took off and ballooned. But we've been rocking together. Shit, it's 2020, damn near like 5 years now. So it's kind of like, it's crazy to me how like music just connects people when you have that kind of same that same like, we got a lot of songs together low key that we just haven't put out, you know what I mean, yet, or haven't necessarily come to light yet, but yeah, we do a lot of work together.
So and this is one of the best lines probably in rap music this year for me. Someone who overthinks everything. Everything's in this line, this sequence. Um, I get it that they don't get it, don't got it the way I got it. I mourn it the way I mourn it. I mourn it, never be off it. Don't know how to cope with losses. Uh, Tell me what it means, and I hope I have some of it.
All right, so it's really I get it that they don't got it. I got it. I get it that they don't get it. I got it how they don't got it. I'm on it the way I'm on it. I'm on it, never be off it. Don't know how to cope with losses outside of winning regardless. Why every nigga be lawless. So it's pretty much, it's like that song is explaining like the mentality of like why people are the way that they are, like in the hood. So it's like, you know, I understand that like people aren't going to understand why it's like that if you're not out there, if you're not, you know, you just don't got it. You're not getting it the way that you don't have to get it the way that we have to get it. You're not on, you know what I mean, on your job or hustling the way that I have to hustle. Like I'll never be finished doing this. Like, you know, like a lot of like hustlers or whatever it is, it's like I don't know, you know, we deal with a lot of loss or a lot of trauma. It's like people don't know necessarily how to cope with it besides bouncing back and going harder or keep going. You know what I mean? There was really no other options. You know what I mean? That's even really laid out for us. So that's kind of like the opening sequence for that. It's hard sometimes, even for me, it's hard to like, I gotta really think about the lines because a lot of this stuff I didn't really write down. I have like, you know, I don't want to say like bullet points. You know what I'm saying? I knew some stuff that I wanted to say, you know what I mean? Because it comes to me like really quick sometimes. So like I'll be sitting, I kind of recite stuff in my head and repeat it to myself. And, you know, once I kind of feel like I got like a good sequence, I kind of try to just go and get everything that I got to get out. You know what I mean? A lot of times I just end up going back and re-record and not necessarily punching in, but I'll go back, start at the beginning and go and see if I can go further or whatever.
It makes sense.
But yeah,
It makes sense because you will pull apart a phrase and reshuffle it several times. We saw that with the you know, with your past, and you know the in that opening sequence, the weight of a bath, the weight of your past, the weight of the path, where you were like taking the phrase and kind of reshuffling it in a new way, and really kind of thinking through it as you were going, and there's something really organic about that. It's different. So, but yeah, and I think it's a great moment because it's you. You have threats on here that are outstanding and outlandish and that I've never heard before, right? I mean, on this album that are just like my Smith and Wesson is like Corinne Steffens, like it's pretty great, right? For a hardcore rap head, but there's something beautifully patient, and I get it that they don't get it. There's something about you saying like, look, I know you're online and you're saying like he's not a real thug and you're in your mom's basement somewhere, but like I get that you don't get it and you couldn't get it if you wanted to because you haven't been here and you haven't done this. And I'm going to be patient with you. Right?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to do that. It takes a lot to accept that and have that empathy for someone who might not have empathy.
Right.
It's a big part of the growth, I think, on the album. So the and which honestly, The Way Home is kind of, that's the first time to me where Ed Glorious kicks into the exile mode of
that one was crazy.
Where it's like, you know, it's triumphant, like the sun shines in and you feel
it's
like
so ironic. I love that song so much because it's just so ironic. Like the whole song is about, you know, somebody pretty much dying, you know, a violent death. And so it's kind of like, you know, a lot of times when people go out like that, it's like, I don't want to say it's like glorified or it's hyped up, but it's like a lot of the negative stuff that goes on, you know, when you come from somewhere that's like, you know, folks be gang bang and stuff like that. It's like, it becomes like a legendary tale. And so the whole time I was rapping it, I just kept seeing like, you know, a hallway of a hospital, and you're going down, it's just like, you see the different, you know, people's like faces and reactions to what's going on. You see balloons and whatnot. And then the final kind of like visuals, you see somebody kind of like, you know, bullet wounds kind of shot up, laid up in the hospital bed. And it's kind of like, the last words on it is, you know, so you can tell all the niggas after me who did it before, you know, it's kind of like, that's kind of how it goes. It's like people like treat it like it's like this, you know, like it's something that it's not. But when you really see it, it's like, it's terrible. But it sounds like, the beat sounds like a victory. It sounds like trumpets. It sounds like, you know, this glorious, like, you know, I just saw it like the gates of like heaven. You know what I'm saying? Then I was
Yep.
like, I just went with it. You know what I'm saying? I just, that was kind of like the whole idea behind that whole record.
Yep.
You know, even calling it like The Way Home or whatever. But yeah, no, that one I like a lot. It's
Yeah.
kind of like,
Now that my body gone and my soul can move on, because my soul will move on. Um, you know, I said I am exactly who I am. I said it before I knew it. Uh, I said it before I knew that I wasn't. You understand that
yeah,
that is very much that kind of process of thinking rhyme, right? Of like,
yeah,
you know, if there's a like a process, you have to like kind of chart it out in your head of like, I said it, then I knew it, but I said it before
yeah.
I knew it, and then you have to like
Yeah, I
follow.
had to say it before I seen it before I believed it before I seen it. So it's kind of like, you know, like folk talk about manifestation and stuff like that, you know, and it's kind of like it works in a negative and in a positive way, because it's like a lot of cats, a lot of like, especially the kids, like a lot of the songs, like perspective is a lot. You would probably, it's a lot younger of ages than you probably would expect. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these expect a lot of these things, you know, to be happening. Because you know what I'm saying? You even understand, like my cousin, you know, going to prison for life when he was 19. You got to know, like, he did a lot of stuff from the time he was 11 to then. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of this stuff is like, when you're a kid, it's like when you have to grow up in that environment, and you idolize a lot of like negativity in a sense. And so it's kind of like you tell yourself that you are this, you know, hardcore or whatever, you know what I'm saying, before it ever actually even materializes. You see yourself, you know, doing this stuff, or you know, that's like a I don't know how to explain it. So it's like, you know, a lot of times people will like, I don't want to say bring it upon themselves, but it's like, you know, that's the dude who's dying is basically saying that I seen it before I said it. You know, seen it before I believed before I seen it. It's like, I am exactly who I am. I said it before I knew that I was it. You understand? It was
Right.
like that's basically what ended up happening to a lot of people in a sense. You know what I
Right.
mean? Either positively or negatively. And you know, when you got a lot of negativity around you, it just happens to be more negative more often than not. You know what I'm saying?
It's hard to create positivity out of that kind of stool or pool of negativity.
Yeah.
Um, so and it's well, the cool thing about the way this is, and what I was going to say is, when people discuss religion, usually they're discussing it like everything is kind of segmented, right? Like, we're going to talk about this in a very clean place, right? We're going to talk about religion in a very positive, clean way, or we're going to be like anti-religion, or we're going to do that. But it doesn't, in this album, it's really mixed in with real life experiences. So you go from songs that feel spiritual and feel religious into like songs like Paul Bearer, where it's like where you say, you ain't believe I'm gonna make it by any means, violence or starvation, illness, get you addicted to pills and get you addicted to thrills, and all the spoils of victory gotta dictate your history when they read your obituary. And so all the hostilities of like the world are touching this spiritual journey that you're going on through it. And I think that's a special thing that rap music does, I think.
Yeah. And so Paul Bear is like the perspective of the dude who killed the dude from the last song. But it's also kind of tied into just like a lot of it for me. I like to tie in a lot of like, I don't know, you know, like history lessons, stuff like that. You know, that's what I'm into. I study a lot of history and, you know, just like that play on, you know, the Crusades and like, you know, I'm on a mission, I'm crusading like Christians.
Yep.
We don't believe I'm gonna make you by any means through violence and starvation, illness, get you addicted to pills and get you addicted to thrills and all the spoils of victory. Got to dictate your history. So it's kind of like it's the same thing, you know. The colonizers, people came through and colonized and took over. They did it by any means necessary. They did it the same way other gangsters would, you know, do it today. It's kind of like it's the same thing. By any means necessary, they did all this stuff, and then you get to write the tale of it and make it look good and make it look better. You know what I'm saying? Than it was, and so that's kind of, you know what I mean. It's just kind of a parallel. Now I was planning on. I like to throw, you know what I mean, just throw stuff in there like that, you know.
It's the other side of the song before it, which is really cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. So the poet then, how does is the poet a break from that, or is that where does that fit
The
in?
poet is kind of like, so like the poet is somebody who's just is in the environment, you know what I mean, and found their other way to escape and enjoy it. And it's like sometimes it's like nature, you know what I'm saying? Nature is like, that's what the whole concept or idea of the album, or even like the hood, it's like nature, you know. You'll see the most beautiful and the most fucked up shit you ever seen in your life in nature. You know what I'm saying? Just
Right.
It's like they eat each other to survive out here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it's like if you're a carnivore, then that's just what your life is.
Right. Nature isn't kind, but it's real, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of like, it's the same thing with like the hood, gangs, shit like that in general. It's like you'll see a lot of the most love and camaraderie and beautiful shit you've ever seen, but you'll also see, you know, that other side of what happens, you know, when lions gotta eat, you know what I'm saying, or when the hyenas catch the lion slipping, you know what I mean, or whatever the case may be. It's a lot. There's two sides of coins, you know what I'm saying? There's the beautiful birds and then there's that, you know what I'm saying, the vultures and all of that stuff, you know what I mean? So
right.
That's kind of, yeah, how everything, you know what I mean, in life kind of works. And so it is kind of like a break from the, you know, the darkness of it. It's kind of like, you know, we're able to take all of this negative shit that's going on around us and somebody's making some beautiful ass art out of it. You know what I mean? In the midst of all of this chaos.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that song kind of goes right back. It's kind of like you have that break from reality. So just imagine, you know, imagine you riding in a car and it's like there's a rapper that's part of the crew or whatever. He's in the back seat and he's rapping, you know, you drive past and you see the police on a chase coming right past behind you. So it's kind of like Iggy Pop kicks into play right after, you know what I mean, that situation.
Yep. The poet, really great, was like diamonds we mine, was like water for wine, was like one hell of a time, was like to be alive. Man,
it's just like, you know, getting, you know, smoking and freestyling with your boys back in the day, like middle school, high school type of shit. It was just like, that was the, you know, it's kind of like, that's what I was thinking of when I was writing all of that, you know what I mean?
Yep. But then obviously Piggy Pop comes next, and they busted him in my crib, ain't found the safe in the vent, face to face with the Jakes, just trying to pay off my rent, just trying to get in the game, trying to get us a win. Seen the lights in the rear and felt like dust in the wind. Beautiful imagery, and the colonization theme is definitely back. In terms of white dudes in suits going to do whatever seems suitable to keep you all glued to the script. So that there's just a lot to it, and it connects the police presence to the overall, you know, police state, I guess.
Yeah. And that was kind of like a double entendre, that whole second verse, just going from like, you know, pharmaceutical to the police, where it's like, you know, you get glued to the script as far as like the actor sequence of how things are supposed to play out or how you're supposed to act and react, and glued to the script as far as like addicted to medicine. You got, you know, dudes in suits that do whatever seems suitable to get, you know, by one means or another, whether that's courtroom lawyers, whatever, or that kind of stuff. And so it kind of, even later in the verse, it kind of goes more into that, you know, now they trying to be on some compassion and shit. Crack baby bastards got left a basket and shit, where it just kind of goes more into like that's kind of like the new thing right now. Is just the opioids is what's, you know, that's what's hot. That's what's going on. So it's just kind of that dual-sided system where it's like you got folks that's making all kinds of money off of this same stuff, where it's like if you sell it, then you go into prison, and they putting it on, you know, they'll put it in everybody's pockets. They making billions of dollars off of worse stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It all works hand in hand. You know what I mean? Kind of like, I don't know. But yeah, it's just kind of like a nice little double entendre play on the word script.
I mean, there's a lot there. I mean, it's even more than I could have ever anticipated.
That's what I was saying. This one's one of my favorites because like it really is like, yeah, it's a slow burn. It doesn't really seem like it's a lot there. You know what I mean? Like you can listen to it casually and still kind of bump along to it.
Yep.
But if you take it and kind of really pick it apart, you start to see like, you know, different stuff that's really layered out through the verse.
And there's like you know, like I always thought when I watched Jaws, like, man, can't they hear the music start? Like, it's a problem. You know, you got to get out of the water. And when you hear that piano start, you know it's a problem.
Yeah, that beat is ridiculous. Ed did his thing on the whole album. Like literally, he sent me the beats, and I kid you not, like the first beat that I opened was the beat actually for Exercise 19.
Oh, okay.
And so like I listened to that, and then I listened to a few more of them, and I texted him. I was like, bro, are you okay? Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, there's just a lot of like, there was just a lot of pain and like soul in them beats. So I was like, you know, like I could just tell like off top, like, yo, he in there playing that 404, like he needs to play that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
so I just felt it, like that connection and that passion was there, and it brought a lot of like that same out of me. You know what I'm saying? I only really work with a few. I produced a lot of my own stuff. Black
Right.
Knight obviously is, you know, my man's. That's one of my guys. First dude that really like kind of I took a chance on me in that regard as far as producing something for me fully. And then Ed, you know, I'm open, like I said, but I'm really picky. And he, as soon as he sent me some stuff, I could just tell like yo, he's really serious. Like he puts his heart and his soul into, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the two extremes of like from Exile to Derringer in terms of the way boom bap can happen, right? Where like the sun breaks through and you feel great, or like you're trapped in a haunted house. And he has complete command of those two extremes and creates in betweens of like murkiness to it that like really some people can't do. Like it's hard.
Anytime I asked him for any element, he delivered it exactly how I like thought of it, but not like in a mundane way where it was like exactly what I thought it was gonna be. But he literally like he delivered it. You know what I mean? When anytime I like, because you know, like I'm putting it together kind of like a story. So when I felt like, all right, I need something to go with this, and I could try to explain it to him as best as possible, he would send me something, and it would end up just being perfect. You know what I mean? And the most like unorthodox kind of way sometimes, but it was still like, okay, yeah, like this is exactly what I needed to, you know what I mean, to do this.
Whew. But I mean, another. I was just looking at "Won't Testify." There's another pitch perfect. Like, if I was teaching a writing class, like I would use this, right? Which I will never be a teacher. I couldn't do it. I don't have the patience. But the devil is a lie but the devil is alive. I looked him right in the eyes and told him I wouldn't testify.
Yeah.
To the slippery misdirects of like the devil's alive. You've heard that expression, but he's alive. And I looked him in the eye. Wow, now I'm really interested. And then I told him I wouldn't testify. It's there's a story in that one bar. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that song. That's actually the last song that I recorded for the album. I recorded that song on like October 9th, just because I was like, I need one more. You know what I'm saying? And I just threw it in there like, or maybe it wasn't that soon. It was like right before whenever I dropped the full track list and all of that, it was like literally that day I had just recorded it. But no, I take that back. This is a funny story, actually. So I added Won't Testify and what's the other one? Will and Testament, the actual last outro.
Yep.
I wanted 15 songs, and so I put those on the track list and I put it out, and I knew it was just gonna hold me as like a contract to like complete the joints. So I don't remember exactly what day it was, but it was like literally in that week leading up to it that I actually did Won't Testify. But Ed sent me that beat, and it was kind of short. It had this real kind of like dusty, like it had a real dusty vibe to it. So I recorded through like the guitar distortion, like a floor pedal. You know what I'm saying? And it just like, I love it. It just sounds like, I don't know. It sounds like it's on a like the most amazing cassette player. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to explain it other than that. It just sounds like a classic, like, I don't know. It just sounds good to me.
It definitely is a totally different sound from other tracks on the album, right? And this album has a lot of those. It's really good. I move like somebody aiming at me from behind me. I'm grimy, but I'm know-it-all. 2 years sober, surprised I ain't die from an overdose.
I'm grimy, but I'm noble, though.
Grimy, but I'm noble, though. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. And yeah, 2 years sober, surprised I didn't die of an overdose. Is that in character, or is that something that?
Yeah, I mean, that's me in there. You know what I'm saying? You know, I don't really want to get too deep into that, but yeah, you know, yeah.
Yeah. So, Appeals freestyle is still it's very punchy, very well respected, well connected, obsessive, manic, depressive, impressive, jester. But just as I separate stress and stretch you, pressure be pressing me. It's just Appeals freestyle is a great way to study how you rap. That and clumsy, I think.
Yeah, Clumsy is like, that's my joint right there.
We split the profits 50-50. We were sharing pills. We go down as co-defendants. We're going to share them appeals, I guess. I love the I guess on that. Of just like that, this is what we chose to do, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's kind of like, yeah, it's just like, you know, in the courthouse now, it's like, fuck it. Yeah, this is what happens. You know what I'm saying? It only goes one of two ways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it definitely felt like, just because this album is there's so much important content to it, that you need Appeals freestyle and clumsy to kind of just stretch your legs out a little bit and just have fun, and the listener needs it too. So
yeah,
glad
and those are both from like the same perspective. So those are like from the perspective of the dude who's like on and really getting it. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's making it look good enough for everybody else to be out here killing and dying and going to prison up over it. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's always those cats out here that are just able to be, that are, even if they're not untouchable, they make it look so good while they was able to do it, that it's like that'll serve as the motivation for cats to do that for the rest of while it's around. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's like, yo, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, Clumsy goes right after Piggy Pop, so it's kind of like the same thing. It's like you got on one side of the track dudes and getting chased down and all that, and then on the other side you got Clumsy running up the check. So it's like that's kind of the idea behind that. And so in like, I guess, the visual sequence, or whatever, it would be like Clumsy's, riding in his old school. Like, that's why I like the tape deck keep changing and all that. He's just riding, having a good time on his way. He's on his way to the courthouse though, because his man's got a court date. Him and two of his mans is getting sentenced. So that's kind of how those two kind of connect, the segue into each other, like the idea behind that. You know what I mean?
So these are chapters in a book. I mean, this is all.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all chapters that add up. It's really cool. Let me. Was it Pride of the Fallen? The tree was too loud, and the drink was too strong. I used to be too proud. Now, not too proud to say I was wrong. Hope I got that right. Did it?
Yeah.
Close? Cool. And it's a heck of a song. It's back in the exile territory of very big and uplifted. And this is where we learn, in a church pew plastered, probably could have used some prayer, but it's hard to go down the altar when your pops is the pastor. So I just passed the blunt until the time go faster. In my mind zone master, I asked and then sought after, knocked, and the door was answered. So that's key in the religious kind of framework of the characterization.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So that song is just kind of like another, it's just another kind of like opening up kind of record, you know what I'm saying? Just kind of letting some more stuff kind of like off my chest, like personally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of like the song's just kind of like, it's about finally like kind of like, all right, if you ever realize, you have a problem in any sense, and realize like, you was wrong, or you was actually like the problem in the situation, you know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, for me, it's kind of like, the song's just kind of, I mean, it's about, ex-wife situation or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, you know, that's the end sequence, you know what I mean? Happy for you, no bitterness, better for you, no pettiness. Looking back, I'm like, what a mess. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like when you're able to like, when you're finally when you're in like fucked up situation, you know what I'm saying? When you finally get out of it, you can look back on the situation with a lot more like clarity than when you was in the situation. So you can analyze a lot more shit where you're like, well, damn, yeah, I was fucking up. You know what I'm saying? Or this wasn't what I thought it was, or I actually wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Like the greatest, person that I thought I was, or this wasn't actually, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, once the smoke all clears out, it's kind of like, in the time you might have a lot of pride in the situation where you're like, I'm not wrong, or this needs to be like this, or this needs to be a certain way. But kind of like once you get out of stress, or a lot of people's relationships is built on kind of like trauma bonding, you know what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like once that like smoke kind of clears and things kind of like settle up, then that's when a lot of people kind of relationships will start to deteriorate in a sense, because it's like now that you don't have to survive each other, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what do we actually want to do? And so I think that's where, you know what I mean, kind of like the separation of people will start to happen in those situations. And it's kind of like, it's not for better or for worse. It was for the better. It's not for the worse. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like some things that's just temporary. You know what I'm saying? Everything is kind of temporary in a sense, you know what I mean? Because life is temporary. So just kind of like moving on from, either mistakes that you made or situations or whatever it was. It's kind of why it touches on a few different subjects. It's kind of like something in that song is going to hit and relate on some note to somebody. And it's kind of like, just, let that shit, accept it. You know what I'm saying? Let that shit go. You know what I mean? That's kind of like the whole point of the song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important. I think it's a super important song. I'm glad that you brought up the "What a Mess" line, because I think it's something rappers don't do enough, right? Like,
Yeah.
to be able to look and say, I screw up sometimes, like,
But,
you know, and I screwed this up, like, and I there's kind of an industry. I've seen people on Twitter talking about it, of like, there's an industry of like affluent all white labels or audiences really chasing after like hood pain and
yeah,
hood experiences, and there's people who are really great at writing that stuff and delivering that stuff. Um, but if they're not getting the full dimensionality of who you are, then there's something that feels wrong about that, right? Like, you want to build yourself a style that is fluid enough for you to exist within.
yeah,
And so when you get a chance to say, my kids are so glorious, they're the reason I'm so hard on myself, right? As an individual. Like, that's a big moment, and that's good for you and for me to be able to say, shit, me too, right? Uh,
right.
it's a connective tissue between the audience and the artist, um, which means you don't have to be a superhero, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like I'm pretty cool, dude. You know what I mean? I live mad decent. I'm pretty like I feel like I've gotten to a place where I'm pretty successful. You know what I'm saying? Just in my life and just in general, I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? And so, not that I like a role model or you know what I'm saying, nothing like that. But it's kind of like I just feel like I can kind of like help people, that I can talk to people that like a lot of people can't really like reach or connect with, you know what I'm saying? Because I've been a lot of places and seen a lot of different stuff, you know what I'm saying? I feel like people can, a lot of people ain't gonna want to sit down and talk to you about stuff that's going on with them, especially folks that's, you know what I mean, hardened, you know what I'm saying? But
Right.
everybody listens to music, you know what I'm saying? Everybody listens to something. Everybody, even if you don't listen to it with everybody else, you might have a song that's just your favorite song that you listen to by yourself and you like feeling the feels or whatever it is. So it's kind of like, I know I had that kind of like growing up, you know what I mean? Songs I listened to, it was like when I was going through it. And so it was kind of like, I felt not necessarily obligated, but it just felt like, something that was accomplished, you know what I'm saying, in the record.
Yeah, this is the Grotesque and Beautiful is really about perspectives, and The Orphan is the first time I knew it was. In the first listening, that was the first time I was like, oh wow, these are not all his story. Like, this is
Yeah,
cut together. So it was, but I mean, there's some real like Donald Goines kind of lived in characterization here
yeah,
of her mama told her not to fuck with him. Really, she just liked the buzz from chilling with thugs, harassing the feeling of stealing.
yeah. Aroused from the feel of the steel on his hip when they hug.
Yes. And it kind of walks you into like how she could make that transition, right?
Yeah,
Because like from the outside, you could look and say, how could she do that? You know? Uh, but you kind of bring it into the perspective like, you know what? It's appetizing from this side and this side, and it really helps build the story to where it goes. Uh, which I don't really want to spoil because it's a really well executed song. Um,
thank you.
but it's a story, and it's really good. The Weight. I got this darkness inside of me. Demons be haunting my mind and my heart. It's so cold I can't feel it inside of me. I've been at war with society. I really been dying inside because the killing outside. Did I get most of that right?
Yeah, just that instead of like the killings, they killing outside.
Good deal. Uh, but yeah, no, it's there are songs on this, and I didn't. This is definitely the time to bring it up. The Weight, where there's you're choked up, right? Delivering it, your voice changes, and
Yeah.
it sounds like a breakdown. And I didn't know if that was part of the characterization.
I mean, not necessarily. I get really like, I don't want to say into character because it's not a character. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because like, even the perspectives that aren't necessarily mine are like draw from real, you know what I'm saying, experience. So, you know, for me, like rapping is a very like spiritual experience for me. It's part of my like, you know, exercise of, you know, my spirituality in a sense. And so whenever I'm rapping, I'm really like on a different like level, you know what I'm saying? So I'm really like there. It's really that's why everything I record, I won't say like one take, like I do it in one set perfect every time. It's like, but I can't punch in because I never, oh shit.
I can still hear you. There you go.
All right, there we go. Yeah, but I can't punch in because I never do the take the same way 2 times, and my voice is never the same way 2 times because it's all very emotionally driven for me every verse, you know. So yeah, it's just kind of like it builds, you know what I mean, as I get more excited or as I start to get more, you know, feeling what I'm feeling or you know, channeling. I really like when I'm rapping, I'm trying to I want you to feel it, you know what I'm saying, the same way that I feel. And so I really if I don't feel that way, then how can I expect you to? You know what I'm saying? So I just make sure that it's actually anytime I'm portraying that emotion or anything in a song, it's real. You know what I mean? Because otherwise it's like, you know, whether I'm happy or I'm turning up or I'm sad and I'm expressing real emotions, and it's like, how can I do that from a neutral state and expect you to feel what, you know what I mean, it is that I'm actually trying to convey to you? I feel like that's half music, you know what I'm saying? The lyrics is one half of understanding it, and the other half is, you know, actually feeling what I'm trying to convey to you.
Yeah. No, I understand completely. When I was doing spoken word stuff and I was giving a performance and I was getting choked up, I mean, it comes from, it's not always my perspective or my story, but I mean it, right? I mean
Yeah,
everything I'm saying. And because I mean everything I'm saying, it touches me. And if it touches me, that's good. That means I'm doing it well. And I need to lean into it, right? So I need to
yeah,
have the emotion and deliver it, which is a lot to do. But when you do it right, it's great. You've created a moment that wasn't there before. Um, so that's great. Uh, the cycle. Maybe I was naive and probably just missing the point. Feel like I'm caught in the cycle, boy. I just live and destroy. They lack the knowledge of self and the guidance of the Lord. Those are the three that really hit me. It's another one of those punchy songs. I don't think it's very long, is it? The cycle?
it's a little, I mean, it's the verse is
229.
kind of short, but it
Yep.
has a hook and it has a hook at the beginning and the end, so it kind of like draws it a little bit.
Yep. No, it's yeah, it's good. The cycle is, do you feel the cycle concludes it and then Will and Testaments is the outro?
Yeah, the cycle kind of concludes it exactly like you said, and then the Will and Testament is like the outro. So the cycle is just kind of like wrapping up the story of explaining like how it kind of goes from, you know, you basically see this person who is, you know, hurt, but an artist also getting, but now being drawn into this same kind of like cycle of, well, now I'm in it too, because it's like, you know, I sold a pack to these niggas and hit a lick for a bag, made a flip for like triple and took a trip to get back. I started off with a nickel. It's kind of like, it just explains how everything just kind of is just going to keep perpetuating itself and keep going, because it's kind of like you'll never go back to, once you start, you never really go back to being regular again, you know what I mean? So yeah, it just kind of brings the whole thing kind of to a close. And then I just kind of wanted, on the last song, I mean, I just wanted to like freely just kind of like bar out a little bit, just kind of rap, you know. I thought the beat was excellent. It was one of the last joints. It was one of the last joints that we did right before Won't Testify. But yeah, it was just kind of like, yeah, I just wanted to really, you know what I'm saying? I felt like I brought it the whole album,
Right.
but I didn't really go like, you know, I didn't really ever get a chance to really just go and rap how I wanted to like rap, you know what I'm saying? Because I was
Right.
telling a story. So it was kind of nice to just be able to kind of float for a little bit on some
And it's
nice instrumental.
to go into Will and Testaments. My closest homies had the knives to put the holes in my back. I almost relapsed. I know I'm prone to overreact, which is again that kind of, I mean, crazy imagery about, you know, getting put in these situations, but also being able to hold yourself and say, I know I'm prone to overreact. I'm not blameless here.
Yeah.
And there's another great kind of Teller Banks shuffling the deck thing that happens. I was holding ends to standards that I held for myself. Ends can't hold a candle. I was handed the cards I was dealt. I dealt with them well, realized I could deal them myself. I dealt myself a better hand.
Yeah. Met direct with the dealer. I can't deal with the middleman. The man that supplied, and I supplied to the man's. Yeah, this is like, that's why this is one of my favorite ones, because even that whole like sequence is, with the dealer, I can't deal with the middleman. The man that supplied, and I supplied to the man's. They said a bird in their hand is worth that two in the bush. I put that bird in the pot. It could put two in your hands.
Yep.
Just like Jesus, I'm a carpenter with this tool in my hand. So it's kind of like, yeah, I thought that was like, I was like,
It's another one of those like, you know that expression? Well, let me pull it this way, and let me pull it this way, and let me redefine it this way, and by the end it comes out this whole other thing. It's really, it's what I've been referring to you as the John Morant of this rap shit.
Facts. I fuck with that. Appreciate you.
like you know what? Like, I don't know if Teller Banks is the future, but I hope he is. You know, like this is good.
Yo, me too, man. That's great.
So,
I hope so. I got a lot of stuff coming up, man. You know, I had a special feeling about like the Grotesque and Beautiful, like, and just being honest with myself. Like, I let a lot of stuff like in my life kind of distract me from really like, you know, taking the like business side or like the networking or the, you know, I don't want to say industry because I'm still pretty underground, you know, side of music. Like, I don't want to say seriously, but you know, I spend a lot more time than anything else. And so kind of like, after, you know, seeing what kind of putting in some effort under those avenues did for me on the Grotesque and Beautiful, you know, I'm kind of like, I'm gonna take my time a little bit this upcoming year. I got a lot of material, but I really want to kind of like flesh everything out completely. This is the first time I really dropped the album that I feel like I did like completely. You know what I mean?
right.
From start to finish, from, you know, all of the steps that you got to check, all of the boxes. I'm a very spontaneous person, and I feel like it works a lot as far as like music is concerned in creation. But as far as like building and planning and stuff like that, you know, I have an excellent team around me now that really kind of helps keep me grounded just enough so that I can be, you know, the maniac that can create all day, but also be productive. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a difference. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm productive in the sense of making music. I probably have like 10 or 11 different projects that I'm kind of sitting on right now that I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I do a lot of production, so I got a lot of beats and stuff that I'm kind of sitting on waiting. But like, as far, you know, I just have a very good team around me now that's helping me, you know, kind of put stuff together. So hopefully, yeah, we can keep building.
I would be remiss if I didn't say the title of the album is in Piggy Pop, right? The Grotesque and Beautiful, Abnormally Usual.
Yeah.
White dudes in suits gonna do what they do to you, and it's just perfect. It's a perfect little summation, right? The Grotesque and Beautiful, Abnormally Usual. That all of the terrible things that happen in this album are abnormal and shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But they're usual and they do happen all the time.
Yeah, everywhere. And what's crazy to me is like I'm from Denver, so like Denver is like worse than people probably would think, but it's definitely not the worst shit in the world. You know what I'm saying? Or like the worst shit in America. You know what I mean? So it's like I know if this shit is going on where I'm from, it's like tenfold. So that's why I was like, shit. The least I could do is kind of like tell the story. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I just felt like it's crazy how much we all can like relate to one another if we're all honest. You know what I'm saying? And kind of take like, I don't want to say like the front of the facade down or whatever, or like put that on anybody, because who knows? I don't know. I like to assume everybody's telling the truth all the time. It's kind of fucked up, you know what I mean? But like, as far as like, music and people's character and who they want to be and portray themselves as, it's like, well, fuck it. If you feel like you that, hey, more power to you. You know what I'm saying? But I just feel like there's something there when you can kind of like take a step back and kind of relate more to the common person. You know what I'm saying? Who is more likely that cats never made a dollar really out of selling dope, or really off of the block, or really out of anything like that. More or less, for every one, success story you see, it's probably 1,000 tales of tragedy behind that. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like that. I don't want to say that angle is played out, but it's kind of like, that wasn't necessarily my angle from the jump. So
Right.
I'm doing better now, but I wasn't always living comfortably. So it's kind of like I feel obligated, you know what I mean, to make people who aren't like feel more comfortable with that in the world of, Instagram flossing and Twitter stun and all of that. It's kind of like, it makes it hard for people to feel comfortable with themselves and with their struggles and things that they're really going through. And so it's kind of like, like I said, not to be like, cocky or whatever, but I feel like I'm a pretty cool guy. So it's like, if I can kind of come down to people's level on some shit like that, then it's like, who is anybody else to act like they too cool to talk about some real shit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
especially given that the previous album you released this year was Jackie Brown, which is super fun player music, right? It is for a lot of it. It's a great listen. It's very modern. It's not boom bap. It's a hoot. It's a good time, and to be able to release both in 1 year is a real thing. Like I definitely felt at points that you had been hearing from some people that they weren't getting, this or weren't getting that, and that you wanted to give them the full dose of what you could do.
I make a lot of different music. I like listening to a lot of different music. I have a lot of different feelings and things that have happened to me that are expressed through music in different ways. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I did a lot of experiment once I fully like started being able to record full time. I just had a lot of music. And so that's why I kind of just was like, well, I'm gonna just start dumping music off, and just not even like to show people I could do it, but kind of just to show people like I'm in here working, you know what I mean? And so Jackie Brown was kind of like the last one that I wanted to do like that. Just as far as like kind of show people, I guess, the range. I produced everything that was on Jackie Brown, engineered all of it. So it was kind of like, I don't know, they were all just kind of like fun projects for me. You know what I'm saying? And it was kind of like, if people like them, they like them. But I don't want to do this for nothing necessarily. So I'm going to put them out and just kind of see what they do, and just kind of give people a glimpse of, what I might sound like going forward, or what, I'm also going to sound like, on my albums. Obviously my stuff with Black Knight is going to sound like Black Knight. My stuff with Ed Glorious is going to sound like Ed Glorious. But, I have a lot more music that I've made, and I have a lot more sounds, in me. So
I'm with it. I don't have anything else other than to give a thanks and a shout out to Iceberg Theory. It was in my interview with him, talking about your feature on the Cabal, where I asked him, like, what was it like, basically. So I set the question up by saying, the features on your album, like, really dispelled the mythology of, like, oh no, I got killed on a track, because you would just be happy to have all these features on a track, right? Vic Spencer's doing great, you're doing great, all these different people are doing great. And then I was like, what is it like to get that Teller Banks verse? I mean, that's awesome. And in his response, he said, Teller Banks is one of the best rappers out right now.
Man, that's crazy. I fuck with Iceberg, man. He's a real dope dude. He's real cool, man. I see he puts a lot of work in. I fuck with him.
Oh, tons of work. And I was basically like, no, if someone reputable says that you're one of the best rappers, I'm doing investigation. So I like put you on the map right there, and it got.
That's dope, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's one of my favorite features that I've done for somebody too. It's kind of like, it was just I like the song. I kind of like, he's real unorthodox. You know what I'm saying? He kind of was like, fuck it. He just was going, and I respected it. I wasn't, you know what I mean? I was like, yeah. So I always feel like, I should give people my best. I don't want to, not necessarily let people down, but, anytime I'm going to go, I'm going to try to give people my best. You know what I mean? So I just felt like, that's one of my favorite verses that I've done this year. I listened to that song a lot. I listen to a lot of Iceberg stuff just because he's kind of like another deep, kind of like philosophical cat.
Yeah.
And I read a lot of that stuff. So it's kind of like, it's fun for me to kind of like peep the little, the mythology and, Kabbalism, references and stuff like that in his music. I like that. So shout out to Iceberg.
People who are unorthodox and confident are dangerous, right? I mean, sometimes people are unorthodox and it weighs on them, right? Yeah. And they're like trying to fit or trying to make it fit. And Iceberg's like, he's here, and he has his relationships, and he sings and he does all this stuff, and he's confident in his decisions, and it pays off. It's great. But thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. I feel like we did justice to the levels of this thing.
Absolutely.
And, buy the Grotesque and Beautiful and listen to this. Watch this and soak it up. I mean, it's going to follow him. He's going to keep going. So,
appreciate you. And thank you too, man. I always wanted to do something like this. So, man, I appreciate you for real.
Hey, Free Music Empire is going to be here. So let us know when you have future projects. We'll be in the house.
Absolutely, man. Take it easy.
Stay safe, everybody.